You know those renewal emails that land in your inbox? The one about your domain name or your hosting plan? If you're like most busy small business owners, you're probably thinking, I'll deal with that later. And you keep scrolling, or you leave it unread, or you read it and it goes in a certain folder and you just leave it alone. And I get it. You have a business to run. You're doing all the things, the client work, the marketing, the admin, the bookkeeping, a million other things. That renewal notice doesn't feel urgent when you have actual people, actual clients waiting for your attention. But today we're going to do something different. I'm going to do a little storytelling with you. This story was shared to me by a friend, a colleague. She also does website design. We're going to talk about a business owner named Elise and her dog walking business and what happened when those I'll deal with it later emails kept piling up. And I want to share this story not to scare you, not to make you feel bad. I just want you to understand why these seemingly boring emails, this administration tasks, actually matter. Why I care so deeply when my clients don't renew things or they forget to do something. And more importantly, I want to show you how easy it is to protect yourself so this never happens to you. Because what happens to Elise was stressful, it was frustrating, but it was also completely preventable. So let's get into the story. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B., web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Let's set the scene. My colleague, she told me about this client situation, and it made me just so nervous. And this is my biggest fear for my clients. We changed some names here in the business, but we're going to talk about Elise, the business owner. She ran a dog walking and pet sitting business. Okay. She worked with my friend a number of years ago to build her WordPress website. It was clean, straightforward, it did its job, and it worked for her. She had secured her domain name, EliseDogWalking.com, that's her domain, and for over a decade, okay, she has been in business for a very long time. This URL has been the foundation of her entire business. She had EliseDogWalking.com on her business cards. It was on the flyer she left at the pet store. It was in her email signature. She had it on her Google business profile. It was in Yelp, the local chamber of commerce, and that weird site next door. Everywhere that you can think of, it had her URL. Her email address was elise@elisedogwalking.com. That's how clients reached out to her to book the walks, to ask the questions, to send the referrals. She had built a reputation on that URL. And when people in town thought about dog walking, they thought about elisedogwalking.com. When her website project wrapped, my friend, the designer, offered her to be on a monthly care plan where someone actually watches over your site every month. I do this for my clients. I check the plugins to make sure that they're updated, that the software is staying current, that you're on the latest version of WordPress. I scan your site for spam comments. I look out for security issues, security breaches, make sure that nothing gets hacked. That's what I do when someone comes on my monthly care plan. Plus, when you are on a care plan, your designer is available whenever you need to update anything on your website, your pricing, change a photo, add a new service, change some words, work on a little bit of SEO. Just someone in your corner to handle the tech stuff so that you can focus on what you actually do. But this client, she thought about the monthly fee and said, why do I need to pay for that? The site is built, it's done. I'm perfectly capable of handling everything by myself. And so she declined the care plan and she took full ownership of everything and she went on her way, confident she had everything under control. And I'm going to stop the story right here and say, this story doesn't go to show that everyone is unable to do this, because there are some clients that I've had that are fully capable of doing this themselves. They have the time to update the plugins, to do the software, to keep an eye on their site, and to watch for these renewals. A lot of people are capable, but then a lot of people aren't. They are too busy and they don't have time to manage all this. They don't have the bandwidth to keep an eye on your website and everything that's going on with that. And that is okay, but I think it's important to have an honest conversation with yourself to see, can you do this yourself, or is it better to have someone take care of everything? Because the thing about running a small business is you are doing a million things at once. And this client, Elise, she was walking her dogs, answering emails, posting pictures of dogs on Instagram, doing all the things. So when the renewal notices, those emails started coming in for her domain name, they got buried in her inbox. And you probably know the emails I'm talking about, the one that says your domain is expiring soon. Renew now to keep your website live. And it's tricky because there are two things that happen sometimes. I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes in your mail, both in email and hard copy mail, you will get notices saying that your domain is expiring and you must pay this amount now so that it doesn't go away. There are a lot of scams out there. Sometimes clients are confused, is this a real notice or is it not? That is another piece of the puzzle that goes into it. But for this example, Elise, she was getting emails and she was overwhelmed and she didn't sign up for that domain renewal, nor did she sign up for that hosting renewal. And the thing about it is when your domain expires and you don't renew it, it doesn't just disappear and wait for you to remember. It goes up for public auction where anyone in the entire world can buy it. And that is what happened to Elise. One day, when her URL went away, EliseDogWalking.com, someone scooped it up. A stranger at auction saw it, thought, oh, that'd be a good website to have, bought it, and now owns that URL. The domain that Elise had been using for 10 years, the one that she had printed on hundreds of business cards that she had scattered to the town, the one that had her email address that all of her clients used to reach her, gone. When you own a domain, you control everything about it. You control where it points. You control what people see when they type that URL into their browser. You control the emails attached to it. So overnight, she lost access to her website and her business email. Everything that someone was trying to send her to her email, it wasn't going to her anymore. It was just going into the void. Or if the person who bought it was savvy, it could be going to that person. Clients that were trying to book her, clients that were trying to ask questions, new customers that found her business card at the vet's office were trying to send an inquiry, and those emails were lost. At the same time, she also forgot to renew her hosting plan. And this is where the actual files for your WordPress website live. It's like the plot of land that your house sits on. Not only did someone have control of her domain, but her website was sitting unprotected and it got hacked. So when people typed EliseDogWalking.com into their browser, the new owner of that URL actually hadn't changed where it was pointing to. They were seeing a hacked website. It was some kind of different language, and it was very suspicious. And when you go to that website, can you imagine what a potential client was thinking 10 years after building this credibility in her hometown community? That URL being out on every single piece of the marketing material she ever created was gone. Her clients were confused. Her referral. I'm interrupting this episode to ask you a question. Is your website working as hard as you are? You've invested in a website, but if visitors aren't becoming paying clients, something's missing. My Website Audit is a professional review where I will analyze your site and identify exactly what's blocking conversions. You'll get a prioritized action plan with specific changes to turn more browsers into buyers. So stop guessing what's wrong and get some clear answers. Book your website audit today. The link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode. Couldn't reach her. Her entire online presence had vanished. And when she found out eventually what had happened, and it took having an actual client who knew her to call her because they couldn't email her, to call her to tell her what had happened, she freaked out and called my friend. And she said, please, can you help me? What is going on? Why is there a hacked website on my URL and why is my email not working? And that's when my friend had to tell her that she had lost the domain and she didn't have control of her hosting. So the first step, damage control, we need to sign up back for that hosting plan to see if we could at least get those website files back and clean up the hack. And thankfully, yes, she was able to do that. So she had her website files back that were clean. So her website worked. Okay. But the problem is she doesn't own that domain anymore. Someone else in the world owns EliseDogWalking.com now. And you can't just point it back to your hosting. You have two options. The first option is to try and buy it back from the new owner. And let me tell you, when someone swoops in to buy your URL, they know what they're doing. They buy these expired URLs specifically to sell them back at a huge markup, like thousands of dollars, sometimes for even well-known URLs, tens of thousands of dollars. And you have to go to a special trader to buy these URLs. And for a small business owner, like this example, that is just not realistic. So option 2, and the one that they had to go with, was to start over with a completely new domain name. And I want you to think about what starting over with a new domain means. It means new business cards, okay? You have to throw away every single business card that you've ever had, a new email address, and then notifying every single client, every contact, everybody that you've ever talked to before that you have a new email address. Then you have to update every single online listing that you have, your Google Business Profile, Yelp, Chamber of Commerce, every directory that you've been through in the last decade. They all have to be updated manually one by one. And here's the thing that is really the worst. It's the biggest bummer that you can think of. All that SEO authority that she'd built up over the last 10 years with her EliseDogWalking.com is gone. Google had 10 years of history with that domain, reviews pointing back to it, backlinks, all of it building her credibility in search results. But with the new domain, she has to start from scratch in Google's eyes. It's like opening a brand new business, even though she's been around for over 10 years. And then there's also the confusion. Longtime clients, maybe you had a dog walker and then maybe you had a baby, you were on maternity leave and you didn't need a dog walker. And then all of a sudden they decide, oh, I do need a dog walker now. And they go to send a message to Elise. Those emails are not going anywhere. And sometimes you don't even get a bounce back. Sometimes you just go out, you never get a response. And then I'm thinking, well, what happened to Elise? She didn't respond to me. What is going on? This is all because of an ignored renewal notice. So this is a long story, telling you a story. What can we learn? First is renewal notices are important. We get a million emails every single day. Our inboxes are overflowing. But if you have a WordPress website, domain and hosting renewal notices are important. They're not trying to sell you something that you don't need. They're literally telling you that if you don't act, you will lose ownership of your domain. What I suggest is that you have auto pay set up if you own a domain. Go in right now. Go in if you have it at Bluehost, if you have it at GoDaddy, Namecheap, whatever you have, whatever service has your domain. Go in right now, today. Log in and make sure that it is on auto renew. If you don't want to do that, then add a Google reminder. Put it in your calendar that you need to renew your domain before it comes up for renewal. If you have a task management system, Asana, Notion, whatever you use, write it down. Secondly, understand what you own when you have this website built. When you're working with a website designer like me, you own two things: your domain, which is the address of your online home, and then your hosting, which is basically the plot of land that your website sits on. If you don't renew the address, someone else can take it. And if you don't renew the hosting, your house gets torn down, or in this case, it gets hacked. Both are important and both need to be maintained. So like I said, auto renewal is your friend. Turn it on. And the last thing I want to say is that website care plans exist for a reason. I'm not saying this because I offer them. I'm saying this because I've seen firsthand what happens when sites go unmonitored. The plugins break, software gets outdated, security vulnerabilities pop up, spam. Most business owners are busy running their businesses and they can't notice when something goes wrong. And a care plan is right there watching your website. Now, if you feel like you have the bandwidth, then make sure you do and put it in your calendar to maintain your website. Make sure that you're checking in weekly that things are working right. But if you don't, consider working with someone who has a care plan. So what can you do right now? I shared a little bit. I want you to take action. Go in, check your domain, your hosting, your renewal dates. If you can, set on auto renew. This could save you a nightmare. What I've seen also happen is that the payment method isn't current. If your credit card is set to expire before the renewal date, update it now. If you don't have that new updated card, put a date in your calendar when you're going to get that new card to go into your domain and update it. And then finally, make sure that you are the one receiving these renewal notices, not your website designer. If your web designer has set up your domain and hosting for you, the notices might be going to their email, not yours. So log in and update the contact information and make sure the emails come directly to you. That way, even if the auto renew fails, you'll still get the alert. For my clients, it's important that they own both their hosting and their domain. A web designer, in my opinion, should never own these accounts for you. Maybe they host a website for you, but you still should own that account. And the domain, they should not own that. You should own that. You should have ownership of it, and it should have your contact information on there. Now, before I wrap it up, I want to leave you with a few important reminders about your website that everyone should keep in mind, whether you have a care plan or you're managing everything yourself. Your website, it's never done. I know it's tempting to think that once your website launches, that you can set it and forget it, but websites are living, breathing things. Technology changes, business evolves. Your offers get updated, they shift. You have new offers, others go away. Your website needs to evolve with you. And this means regular updates to your content, fresh images, new testimonials, and current information about your services. And security is not optional. Hackers don't just target big corporations. It's kind of like, why would someone hack my small business website? They just do. They get hacked all the time, often because they're easier targets. So keeping your software, your plugins, and your themes updated is one of the best ways to protect yourself. And finally, most importantly, know that you own everything. Make sure you own your domain, your hosting, your website files, and that you have access to everything. And lastly, I want to say this. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You don't have to be an expert to run a successful business. That's why there are web designers and developers and care plans. If something feels overwhelming or confusing, reach out to someone who knows what they're doing. I shared Elise's story today, not to scare you, but to empower you, to show you what you can prevent, because most disasters like this, they're completely preventable. They happen because of overlooked emails or expired renewals. And the assumption that once a website is built, that it's done and dusted, and you never have to think about it again. But that is not the truth. So if you are feeling overwhelmed about maintaining your website, you're not sure if it's up to date, or you're just curious about what's going on behind the hood because you just don't know, I would love to help. Feel free to book a website coaching call with me. The link is in the show notes, and we can talk about where your domain is, where your hosting is, and the last time that you updated your website, because maybe it's time to make a few changes so that we can tell Google that you've got things going on and give it a little bit of a boost. So there is my storytelling episode for today. I hope you have enjoyed this format, and I will talk to you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.